You know, some of the most powerful stories out there aren't written in books. They're actually built into the objects all around us. And today, we're going to unbox one of the most fascinating stories in modern luxury, the secret language of perfume packaging in the Gulf. Let's dig into how a simple box can tell such an incredibly powerful story. Okay, this quote just nails it, right? It puts you right there in this high-stakes world where the very first impression has nothing to do with the scent. It's all about the feel. It's the weight of the box in your hands, that satisfying click of the cap. Long before you smell a single thing, the packaging has already made its case. And believe me, it's a compelling one. And we're not talking small numbers here. The fragrance market in the Gulf is projected to hit nearly $8 billion by 2032. That number isn't just about the juice in the bottle, it's about the entire sensory universe built around it. And that universe begins with the packaging. Which brings us to our first really big idea. In this market, you have to stop thinking of packaging as just a container. It's not just some wrapping. For all intents and purposes, the packaging is the product. It's the very first promise that a brand makes to you. Now, what's so fascinating here is just how much the premium and luxury segment dominates. A massive 68% of all the money comes from this top tier. And at that kind of price point, you aren't just buying a scent. You're buying an experience, status symbol, a little piece of art for your dresser, and that whole experience kicks off the second your hand touches the box. And this market isn't just big, it's growing at an absolutely blistering pace. I mean, an 8.5% annual growth rate completely dwarfs the global beauty market's average. This kind of speed puts enormous pressure on brands to keep innovating, especially with their packaging, just to stand out in what's becoming a very crowded, very sophisticated field. And here is the kicker. Nearly a third, 31% of all annual revenue is made during the big gifting seasons of Ramadan and Eid. Just think about that for a second. Gifting isn't just some nice-to-have part of the business. It is a core pillar. And that makes packaging that feels heavy, luxurious, and just screams perfect gift an absolute non-negotiable key to success. So, how do you design for this very unique consumer? Well, this brings us to the cultural heart of our story. To really win in the Gulf, you have to get that fragrance is woven into the very fabric of identity. You know, in a lot of Western markets, fragrance is kind of an accessory, right? It's something you might change with the seasons or your outfit. But in the GCC, it is profoundly different. Scent is a fundamental part of your personal identity, and it's there at every major life event, from prayer to business meetings to celebrations. It's not a whim, it's a statement about who you are. And that identity is often expressed through these bold, complex, long-lasting scents like oud and amber. In fact, the region consumes over 60% of the entire world's oud oil. So it just makes sense. If the fragrance itself is heavy and authoritative, the packaging has to communicate the exact same thing. A lightweight, flimsy bottle holding a powerful oud scent, that creates what designers call cognitive dissonance. It's a disconnect that can kill a sale right there on the shelf. And this consumer isn't a monolith, not by a long shot. You've got high net worth buyers who expect something that looks like a piece of art on display. Then you have millennials who are really driving this idea of a fragrance wardrobe and care about how a whole collection looks together. And then there's Gen Z, for whom the unboxing is the advertisement. That magnetic click, the slow drawer slide. Those aren't just features, that's content. Okay, so if the packaging is that critical, how is it actually engineered? Well, it's not just one thing, it's a very carefully constructed system. A winning package in the Gulf has 4 distinct layers, and every single one of them has to work together in perfect harmony. We're going to call this our framework, the packaging stock. You've got the bottle, the cap, the box, and finally what we'll call the experience layer. And a failure in any one of these tiers can totally undermine the entire perception of luxury. They all have to be perfect. First up, the bottle. This is the most permanent part of the whole thing. It's what's going to live on someone's shelf long after the fragrance is gone. In this premium world, glass weight is a signal of quality that people actually notice. We're talking 100 to 200 grams for just a 50 milliliter bottle, with a really thick glass base to give it that visual weight and authority. Next is the cap, which is really like the jewelry of the package. It's the part you touch the most, and maybe most importantly, it's the most photographed component for social media. Materials here are a huge deal.
it's got to be heavy metals like Samac or brass. And that super satisfying, precision-engineered click you hear when it closes, that's an audio cue that just screams quality, especially on video.
Layer 3 is the box itself, and this is where that massive gifting revenue is either made or lost. We're not talking about simple cardboard cartons here. The winning structures are these rigid drawer boxes that give you a slow, controlled reveal, or magnetic flat boxes that have that satisfying snapshot. Every little detail, right down to the 2 to 4 millimeter thick board, is designed to feel substantial and valuable. And this just shows you the whole performance. The unboxing is engineered to be a journey. That slow slide of the drawer builds up anticipation. The magnetic click gives you that sound of quality. And the final reveal presents the bottle like a jewel in a case. Each step is a sensory moment designed for maximum impact. And finally, we get to the experience layer. This is everything else inside the box. The precision molded tray, that beautifully foil-stamped card telling the scent story, and more, an embedded QR or NFC chip. This is what turns the unboxing from just opening a product into a real brand encounter, a gateway to a whole digital world. So, how do we pull all of these pieces together? Let's build out the winning formula, combining these physical elements with that deep cultural context to create something that doesn't just look luxurious, but actually sells. I love this quote from the source material because it just gets right to the heart of it. In the Gulf fragrance market, authentic cultural design isn't some fluffy creative choice. It is a fundamental commercial requirement. Believe me, consumers can spot a superficial, lazy attempt from a mile away. And getting it right means matching the right design element with the right production technique. This table is basically a cheat sheet. You don't just print Arabic calligraphy, you render it in gold foil to give it that feeling of prestige. You don't just add a pattern, you emboss it so people can feel the craftsmanship. Each one of these choices reinforces that story of luxury and authenticity. Okay, the final piece of this whole puzzle is just the modern reality of retail. Today, packaging has to perform perfectly in 3 completely different arenas, all at the same time. It has to look beautiful under the lights of a luxury boutique, be tough enough to survive a journey in an e-commerce shipping box, and be compelling enough to stop you mid-scroll on a tiny phone screen. Which leaves us with one last question to think about. The next time you pick up a luxury product, look past the object itself for a second. Ask yourself, what story is this packaging really telling me? Because in the world of golf luxury, that story is a carefully crafted, multi-million-dollar narrative told without saying a single word.